Margaret sat in her modest, sunlit living room, the warmth of the late afternoon spilling through the windows. The faint hum of her old ceiling fan was the only sound in the room, the gentle breeze stirring the lace curtains. Her hands, once nimble and capable, now rested gently in her lap, wrinkled but graceful. Time had etched its marks on her, yet the memories remained vivid, a tapestry of love and loss that defined her existence. It had been 6 months since Robert passed. The emptiness in their home was palpable, and Margaret, at 56, found herself adrift in a sea of solitude. Robert had been her everything, her husband, her confidant, and the love of her life. Together, they had built a life filled with laughter, dreams, and the gentle hum of shared moments. But now, after his absence, Margaret was left with nothing but memories, and the silence was a heavy companion. Her world shifted subtly when Liam arrived. The knock on the door was unexpected, soft, almost hesitant, but Margaret had been expecting him in some distant part of her heart. Liam, her late husband's nephew, was barely 28, and his youthful energy was a stark contrast to the quiet solitude Margaret had embraced. He was seeking solace, running from the world that now seemed too fast for him. At first, he kept to himself. A reserved young man with an air of melancholy, Liam barely spoke beyond polite greetings and small exchanges. Margaret let him be, offering him a space, a room in their old countryside home where memories of Robert still lingered. She understood the weight of grief, having borne it for half a year. But with Liam, it was different. His presence was a quiet storm, a reminder of what had been lost but also of the future that could be shaped anew. As days turned into weeks, Margaret began to notice subtle changes in Liam. It was not so much his words, but the way his eyes lingered on hers, the hesitance in his touch when they passed each other in the hallways. He wasn't the boy she remembered. From the family gatherings, a distant relative who had visited only on holidays, but a man searching for more. Searching for something Margaret knew all too well. One evening, after dinner, the two sat on the porch, watching the last rays of the sun dip below the horizon. The stillness was broken by the chirping of crickets and the distant sound of a farmer's tractor. Liam's voice was low, almost a whisper, as he asked, "Do you ever miss him?" Margaret paused, her heart constricting at the question. She had become an expert at pushing those feelings aside, at living in the spaces Robert once occupied without drowning in grief. But with Liam, there was a vulnerability she couldn't escape. "Every day," she admitted softly. "But life goes on, Liam." He nodded, his gaze distant. "I don't know how you do it. I feel like I'm losing myself." Margaret reached out, her hand resting gently on his. The warmth of her skin comforted him. Grief is a strange companion. You don't move past it. You carry it. And sometimes it feels lighter when you share it. The unspoken truth hung between them, an acknowledgement of the loss they both carried. For Liam, who barely knew his uncle beyond stories and memories, and Margaret, who had lived every moment alongside Robert, the pain was a silent bond. It was a connection neither could deny. One night, after a thunderstorm had passed, Margaret sat by the window, watching the rain dance against the glass. The sound of Liam's footsteps padded softly down the hallway, and soon he appeared in the doorway. His hair was damp, and his eyes held a quiet desperation. "I don't know what to do," he admitted, his voice breaking the silence like glass. "I keep thinking I'm just floating, lost in a life that doesn't seem mine anymore." Margaret moved to the edge of her seat, reaching for him as if drawn by an unseen force. "You don't have to navigate this alone, Liam. Life is complicated and sometimes it's messy, but sharing the burden can make it bearable." In that moment, something shifted. Words they hadn't dared to speak, emotions they had kept hidden, surfaced like a tidal wave. Liam collapsed onto the chair beside her, his head resting against her shoulder, and Margaret let him, holding him close, offering the comfort of a shared pain. The days blurred into nights filled with unspoken understandings and stolen moments. Margaret would catch Liam watching her as she prepared tea, or they'd walk through the fields hand in hand, the countryside offering a quiet refuge from the weight of their pasts. Their connection grew deeper, not as a substitute for what had been lost, but as a testament to what could be found, a new kind of love forged through shared sorrow and hope. In the stillness of their home, Margaret and Liam didn't rush to define their bond. There were no labels, just two souls finding strength in each other, learning to navigate the complexities of life, grief, and the unpredictable beauty of the present. Together, they discovered that even in the face of overwhelming loss, life could still offer unexpected paths to healing and renewal. And in those quiet moments, with the memories of Robert ever present, Margaret and Liam began to create a new kind of extraordinary, a testament to the resilience of the human heart.